This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The Cowboys are on the clock.
Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Ezekiel Elliott.
And now, your hosts, Dane Brugler, David Hellman, and Brian Broaddus.
Well, welcome back to the Draft Show here from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. It's always nice to have you with us as we get closer to the NFL Combine coming up. I saw the other day where there was 65 or so days until the draft. It'll be here before you know it. So we are happy that you're here. Brian Broaddus, along with Dane Brugler from CBS Sports. Joined also here by a young lady that is really, really locked in to what's going on in college football.
Tay, what?
And I'm always glad to have Taylor Stern with us, Dane, because she is a go-to person when it comes to college football. Mm-hmm. And there's questions about these players, coaches. I mean, she's had a lot of interaction with guys on the national the national championship scene, Orange Bowls, Rose Bowls. Young lady's she's made a lot of connections throughout her brief career. But they've all been great connections. Taylor Stern, welcome to the Draft Show.
Thank you. You know, Dave just quit on you as usual.
Well, Mardi Gras took over.
Yeah, and that matters more to me. I'm all about let's find the next Dak, let's find the next Anthony Brown.
Exactly.
But he just doesn't care.
Yeah, he does not care. So
I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, nice to have you along,
yes.
Taylor. Really, and appreciate that. Okay, today we're going to get into a little bit about the Combine. We will have shows from Indianapolis starting next Tuesday. There'll be shows likely at the end of the day. We've got a lot of things that we have to do, interviews, watching workouts, things like that. And we will have our hour-long shows from Indianapolis for you, kind of a recap of what's going on each day. Those will go from Tuesday through Saturday. We'll have a special weekend show for you on Saturday and tie everything up in Indianapolis. But I do want to get into a little bit about the Combine. And Dane, expectations at the Combine, expectations of players, of coaches, of scouts, of fans. What are you looking forward to most about this Combine? They're all different. I've been going to the Combine since 1992, and every one of them has always been different for me.
Right.
Expectations of what you're looking forward to at the Combine.
You got me beat. I think this is my 8th Combine, so
I'm an old man.
You got a little bit more on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, because it's an individual basis type of thing, because for one player, his 3-cone drill might be the most important thing that I'm looking forward to, but for another, it's the medicals. Another might be the interviews. And so another, it might be hand size. It's wide range. It depends on the player we're talking about in terms of what's most important for him. So I'm working on my preview right now that's going to be up on CBS Sports, and I'm breaking down 60 players and what's different about each one of them that scouts need to find out. For
60 players.
Right. So wow. I just pointed out 60 of them. And
yeah.
A player like Ryan Ramczyk, the talented Wisconsin offensive tackle, is the top offensive tackle in this group. I think he's a top 20 pick. Recently, a hip surgery. How does that play into his evaluation? A player like Corey Davis from Western Michigan, the wide receiver, will be there, but he will not be working out because of an ankle surgery.
Ankle surgery, right.
They call it minor. He should be ready at some point over the summer. But again, this is a player from the MAC who we won't get to have verified times on before the draft, and a player that might be the top receiver taken. So whether it's the medicals, whether it's the interview process, there's a lot that we need to learn and figure out when we're in Indianapolis.
Taylor, I'm going to turn to you on something here. He said the interview process. Mm-hmm. Your area of expertise in where DallasCowboys.com is the social media side of it. All the things that you do, the presentations, the relationships you've built with the players, the trust that you've built with these players. Talk about, though, what the avenue. I'm going to interview kids, and I used to not be able to know anything really about these kids, but now all of a sudden I can get on social media platforms and learn a little bit more about them, maybe ask them some questions about behavioral practices, things they believe, things they don't believe, outspoken, not outspoken. Talk about, though, and I know you've had interaction with people about the social media side and how you use it to evaluate players. Talk about what I expect going in with these interview process from that side of it.
Absolutely. And I think since Laramie Tunsil, there's been a lot of focus on social media and what happened with him in the draft. Obviously, that didn't happen until the draft weekend. Mm-hmm. But prior to that, I mean, you know that there are people in these scouting departments that are specifically looking at guys' social media. Not only their social media, but their dads, their moms, their sisters, their brothers, the friends they hang out with, the girlfriends, the fiancés, wives, anyone that is personally close to these players. Their social media is under speculation because it's a very important part. A social media profile can tell you so much about a person. It's kind of creepy. We all know that.
Sure.
But you could get some questions. Hey, I saw that you said you were here, but on your girlfriend's Twitter, she posted a picture of a date night somewhere else.
Right.
So you can catch these people in either lies or see really positive things about them. Hey, your mom posted this about you. We didn't know that you, did all these things or you had a learning disability or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that social media is becoming an avenue for scouts to learn a different side of them because, okay, when you're in those interview process, it's very nerve-wracking.
Absolutely.
And you're probably...
I'm just as nervous interviewing the kid as they are. I really am.
Exactly. So who knows how they're, showing themselves. Perception is reality. So obviously they want it to be the best it is. Well, hey, I just went to your dad's social profile and he's talking smack about the Falcons, and he posted this tweet. We also saw what happened to Dak in draft weekend last year, where he gets drafted by the Cowboys, a simple Twitter search of @Dak, @Dallas Cowboys, and you see him talking badly about Tony Romo.
Right.
So these players really, besides getting their physical in check, they need to get their social in check. Go back, see what you posted.
Myles Garrett, that video that came out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
2 weeks ago,
know
like
who you're talking to. Know who you're sharing things with. People are also taking photos of you wherever you are.
Right.
And they're uploading those to Snapchat, Twitter, things like that. Don't be in any questionable circumstances where, hey, nobody's posting it that about social media. But
right.
Joe, fan over there, just took a picture of you here.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to post that. Hey, I'm Myles Garrett. I went out to Northgate. And, this is a week before the draft.
Right. Put myself in a bad situation.
Exactly. So I'm curious to see how much of that is going to play into it. And especially like guys like Jalen Smith, who last year, you're talking about medicals, didn't really participate, did all that. Very impressive in his press conference.
Right.
I remember you saying that.
Right.
And now he's really used social media to also be a benefit.
Yeah, this is new to us, isn't it? It's totally new to us. It's something that and a great job of explaining that. See, that's why you need somebody like Taylor Stern on your staff to kind of get you through. I'm an old scout. The whole thing, these, things that have happened with the Mixons and stuff like that. I mean, I need to be educated on this stuff. And now this is really a huge part of what these teams spending millions of dollars on these players. It might be a social post that takes somebody off a board.
Taylor said something that was, I think, key. Perception is reality. And that is so true.
Right.
With a lot of these players and for a lot of fans in the outside world, social media is what creates the narrative. It's that perception. And so, it is such a big part. From a scouting perspective, we can talk about the on-field and, what we look for on tape and all that. But off the field is just as important. You know that.
Right.
And information is power. The more information you have,
absolutely,
the better decision you can make, the better understanding you have of the player's mental makeup, who he is as a person, his character, how he treats others. All that goes into the overall grade. You'll have your on-field grade, but then you have the off-field grade, a character grade. And
that's important.
Oh, yeah, it affects the overall grade.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, and we saw what happened last year with Eli Apple and his mom getting pretty active on Twitter. I mean, now she has pretty much a Twitter personality. She's verified. She's been on ESPN, done some different things. We've seen Zeke's mom, too. A lot of times, they may have their perception so cleaned up and it looks great. Well, I just went to their girlfriend's page and she's talking about how, he had the worst workout.
Yeah.
and now she has to go take him out, or something like
Sure.
that. So you can find these things, like you're saying, the information that I think could be critical in figuring out. I've seen people gone through these guys. I mean, Zach Banner is one that I remember someone went through and was like, girlfriend seems a little too close. Let's watch this. Because these guys are 20, 21 years old, 22.
Yeah.
Very impressionable.
Right.
And, it's important to know everyone who is around them. And like you said, you're about to spend $1 million.
That's spent a lot of money.
It's funny how, in the early to mid 90s, how different the NFL would have been if social media existed at that time. A player like Brett Favre.
Oh, gosh, yes.
He liked to go out and have some fun.
We there was things that we had to actually hide.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just amazing how different things are now compared to, 20 years ago. It's just how things have changed, and everyone else has changed with it. Yeah,
it's all part of it. Okay, and I'm going to go. This is something that, and we'll get into the combine because we're going to do all that. Taylor and I were talking though. She had something that was really, I think, kind of neat, and she was asking me about these players, and she wants to do something though that she kind of got an idea about. Is this guy a safe pick or a risky pick?
Yes,
and I
you
just
already brought up one guy.
Yeah, I want to kind of. She had a list of guys that she wanted to go through. And I'm like, okay, we'll shoot this. And we're going to do something. The way the show's going to roll today is we're going to do this, and we're going to do Twitter on the 20. And then we're going to do, Taylor's got another thing called Taylor's Takes. And she's got some more questions.
Games on games.
Taylor's coming with some information heat today. So we're going to let her be a part of that. So, and we can take calls 888-855-2297. We might get to that at the end of the show. But go ahead, Taylor, and let's hit some of these safe pick or risky pick.
Yeah, Dane, I'll start with you. Okay. Safe pick or risk pick with Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle from Alabama?
I think he's as safe as you can get from a tape perspective, from a character perspective. He has a few shoulder things going on, so as long as that'd be my only hesitation there. As long as the shoulders check out, he is an extremely safe pick. A player that went back for a senior year to get better. Nick Saban will rave about his intelligence, about the person that he is. He didn't have the best upbringing, but he is powered through adversity. So I think Jonathan Allen is a very good example of the type of player you want on your team. So
the film and everything other than the injuries check out though for being the safe pick.
Yeah,
and especially that high, right?
He's a very clean player on the field. I mean, versatility, power, strength, quickness. It has it everything.
Could he be taking over Garrett? Could he be taking over Myles Garrett?
That high?
I don't.
We're talking maybe a top 3 pick.
I've seen him.
Yeah, no, I know.
I've never seen him at 1.
I don't. You never know. I mean, maybe if you're not in love with Garrett, maybe. But Garrett to me is just he's the best player.
Yeah.
But
I guess if you're saying that, I wonder how many different trades we could see. I mean, at this point last year it was the Browns, and then it was the Rams. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think there's 3 defensive. I mean, with Jonathan Allen, Myles Garrett, and Solomon Thomas, I think all 3 of those guys are top 5, those types of players, but I think Myles Garrett is just a little bit better than the other 2.
Okay.
Right, Brian, Malik Hooker from
Ohio State. Right. Yeah, you know what? I think that's interesting about Malik Hooker, depending on what there's tape that you can watch about him where he really doesn't tackle great. And now, does Adams fit over him, the LSU safety? And so I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm thinking like probably a top 12 player. But does the tape as free safety scare you a little bit as being that safe player? I mean, when you make that kind of investment for a safety, are you really getting the best player? I think with him, I have him over Adams.
So do I.
Myself. So, but man, the tackling part, if I'm a team, I'm maybe thinking about, how consistent is he really? Is that the safest route to go when you're talking about a safety?
Yeah, and that's fair. I think a big thing with Hooker is his issues are more angles, more just eye discipline, understanding where he needs to be, not effort. I think the effort's
outstanding.
Yeah. He's a tough guy.
Technique, though.
Right. It's not like he avoids contact, which is a good step. If you're not going to be the best downhill tackler, at least show me effort and hustle, and that's there. So I think he'll get better. Remember, a redshirt sophomore, first year as a starter.
Right.
The ball production with 7 picks this year is just outstanding. So I'm with you. I give him a little bit of an edge over Adams because he impacts the back half of the field more. But
it's that deep safety guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But your point is well made about the run defense.
Obviously, the best name in the draft, Taco Charlton Dane. Safe or risk?
That's a good one.
I told you she's bringing fastballs today.
And it's not because his name is Taco, but I always say with Taco Charlton that he has all the ingredients, just lacks seasoning. That's Taco Charlton. A late bloomer, a guy who didn't really start until his senior year. You see the physical traits. I mean, they're there. He's a big, strong guy.
Film, yeah,
he can bend off the edge a little bit. I think he's going to get better. Is he safe or risk? I would lean more towards safe, but I don't feel great about it. I don't feel as safe about him as maybe I do some of these other players. And I've said this before, but it reminds me a lot of Justin Tuck when he was coming out of Notre Dame. And there's a reason Justin Tuck was a third-round pick, not a first-round pick. And so I think with Taco Charlton, you're not drafting him for who he is now. You're drafting him for who you think he'll be 2-3 years from now. And so with that projection, there's always a little bit of risk.
Absolutely. Sidney Jones from Washington, Brian. Cornerback.
Yeah, I you know what?
You already kind of gave your answer.
I think that to me, I think I have other corners better. You know, when I like White from LSU, Moreau from UCLA, Tabor, of course. I mean, Tabor's going to be a guy you're going to have to talk about. I think Sidney Jones, I like the length, I like the reach. I don't always like the ability, though, of him, the way he runs. I think that some people, to me, could take advantage of him on some vertical stuff. But when you get him near the ball, he tends to make some plays. Mm-hmm. I just worry about him having to get in the right scheme fit. You know, I like him playing up. I really, really do. But I worry about some of the movement stuff sometimes with him.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Joe Hayden, where he
a great player though.
Yeah.
I mean,
he can get beat a little. I mean, he will have moments where you kind of wonder, but I think overall, a pretty good player. I think
Joe Hayden's great.
Yeah, he used to be.
Yeah, I think he's more of a risk, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I had like four corners ahead of him, and I think if you were looking for a corner, it has to be if he gets in the wrong scheme fit. There could be some problems there with him.
Right.
I think playing up is better than playing back for him.
Because this isn't done in a vacuum.
Right.
We're comparing him to other corners in this draft
that
you might feel more comfortable with. So, yeah, I'm with you. But your point about him making plays, a high school wide receiver, when the ball's in his area, he does make plays, and I think that's a plus. To me, he's a top 5 corner. I still think he'll go that high somewhere in the first round, but he's not a perfect prospect. That's true.
All right, you talked about Sidney being a wide receiver, but let's talk about another one, Mike Williams from Clemson.
I think he's safe. I really do. I don't think he's going to have the best 40-yard dash. I'm hoping at the combine he runs.
Ole Miss guy scare you from last year a little bit after all that?
How do you? I mean, you can't ignore that.
I know. That's what now makes me think. Yeah.
Right. I mean, is he going to run closer to a 4.5 or closer to a 4.6? If Mike Williams goes out and runs a 4.58, that's not ideal. Obviously, it's not a deal breaker because his strengths are not built on speed. His strengths are at the catch point, his body control, the way he can create a window when there isn't one against defenders in tight coverage. So I'd like to see him run somewhere in the low 4.5s. Hopefully, I think that would only cement his status as a top receiver this year. But if he doesn't, that does create a little bit of doubt. But I think the tape is strong enough where I feel comfortable calling him a safe pick.
Cool. Ryan Ramczyk. We've already heard Dane's take on him.
Yeah.
But your take, Brian.
Yeah, you know what? I think that to me, I think that this is a position that I'm really, really scared at. I'm scared of these offensive tackles. And I think he's more of an athlete than he is a power player. And so I worry about that a little bit. I worry about really a little bit of lack of the strength. I think he's got the initial quickness. I think he's got technique. I worry about the power, though. We've seen some Wisconsin Gabe Karimi, Wisconsin come out, kind of be somewhat of a guy that was highly touted,
first rounder,
and then really not play with power, really not be more athlete than power player. I worry he's more like him than he is really some of the Wisconsin tackles that we've seen in the past.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit more of a risk there, and that whole position though is a position I would worry at.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, we also have Garrett Bowles.
That's a risk.
See, yeah, you didn't even hesitate on that one.
Well, and you factor in a lot of things here. The fact that he is an older guy, he'll be a 25-year-old NFL rookie. He has a great story coming from where he did. Had gotten to into some trouble in high school, was out of football altogether. He was working on garage doors. And then he decided at some point after a church mission to turn his life around, goes to Snow College, goes to Utah. So this is a player who hasn't really been a part of a strength and conditioning program.
Yeah.
And I think that lack of core strength really shows in the way he plays. Now, he's a terrific athlete.
Right.
Athleticism is not an issue with Garrett Bowles, but he needs to get stronger. And, he's an older guy. How long is it going to take for him to get, up to par with what you need him to be at to start in the NFL? This all factors into his value. I'm not so much worried about his character as maybe you would have been 5 years ago. He's an older guy, just got married, just had a child. So I think he has a more mature lifestyle now. But just his inexperience. The athleticism's there, but I worry about the core strength, some of the technique issues. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to adapt to the pro level.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything he said. I just think when I watch him play, I see a narrow player. And that bothers me. I mean, the movement stuff, the athletic ability, I think is very good, but I don't see a strong player. Mm-hmm. But there's some guys that have lacked strength that have played in this league at offensive tackle. And I think he would be a risk, and a lot of it has to do with the strength and I think the experience. Though I want a guy that's a little bit more seasoned. Okay, Tay, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
That was great, though. Okay, we'll be coming back from the draft show, coming back from break. We're going to get into Twitter on the 20. So make sure you get your questions to Taylor at the draft show, and we will get those when we come right back.
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
just one more episode.
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Hey, Cowboys fans. Did you know that over the next few years, more than 1 million service members will transition from military to civilian life? Veterans face unique challenges when they get out of the military, and Bank of America and the Dallas Cowboys are teaming up to help with financial education, career opportunities, and support of military nonprofits and organizations locally in North Texas and across the country. We're proud to support our troops and are deeply grateful for the dedication and sacrifice of our service members and veterans. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys, invites you to join us in our efforts to get involved by tagging game day photos on social media using hashtag TroopThanks, that's hashtag TroopThanks, and by learning more about our commitment to veterans at bankofamerica.com/military support. Together, we can thank our troops in ways that make a real difference.
Copyright 2016, Bank of America Corporation.
I went to my first Cowboy football game at the Cotton Bowl when I was 10 years old. I've been a Cowboy fan ever since, in the Super Bowl years and the not-so-good ones. Teamwork is what makes winners. At the law office of Domingo Garcia, we play as a team to win your case. If you have been hurt in a car or truck accident, injured on the job, call the law office of Domingo Garcia and join our winning team. With offices in Dallas, Houston, Austin, Odessa, and Tyler, we can help you in Texas. Call 214-941-8300. 214-941-8300.
This is the DallasCowboys.com draft show.
The Cowboys are on the clock.
Back here in the SWBC Mortgage Studios, Brian Broaddus, Dane Brugler, Taylor Stern, Kent Garrison, executive producer today. Hey, I got to do something here that I'm really happy to.
Loving.
I love this. Tommy John underwear is in a league of its own. Mind-blowing fabrics that you can barely feel, and designs to fit the modern man that eliminate bunching and wedgies. Plus, backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free, guaranteed. Shop exclusively Cowboys underwear at TommyJohns.com/Cowboys for 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Cowboys. Great stuff right there, that Tommy John.
Best.
We appreciate their sponsorship of our shows. And so this is a part of the show I really like because the fans, we like the interaction with the fans. Is a segment created by Ed Cahill, and I always appreciate it. It is
Twitter on the 20.
Taylor Stern, your show.
Yes, they have great questions. You guys have some great listeners.
Thank you.
Anybody, Vince wants to know, who had the better film, Reuben Foster or Jalen Smith?
Both outstanding linebackers at the college level. I don't think there's one that's clearly better than the other, but Jalen Smith gets the edge. He's an athlete, and those athletes, the way he can move, it was hard to find holes in his game.
I think you would had to have selected Jalen Smith where you took Ezekiel Elliott.
If he was there.
If he was healthy. So to me, and I'm a fan of Foster. God, we were watching tape last night, and he's just all over the field from Alabama, just everywhere.
Violent.
Yeah, violent, explosive, all those things.
He's huge this year.
Yeah, I think to me, I would take Jalen Smith myself. And hey, we all hope that things work out for Jalen Smith and that he could be a part of this team coming up this year.
Obviously, this is the only time that someone could ask this question and you guys would have answers because you've studied so many guys. But LaVale wants to know, what late third-day steals is no one talking about that really may surprise people?
Third-day steal.
So you got to look at the bottom.
Yeah, I got to look at the bottom. Whoa.
Well, I would have said Adam, our boy from Ashland, Adam
the tight end.
The tight end.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be off the board in the second day probably. He's not a secret anymore. And I think after the combine, he's only going to continue to move up boards. I like a few receivers. Mac Hollins from North Carolina is a player I think people need to get learn more about him.
Familiar, yeah.
I think he's a guy that on special teams is going to make an impact. I think he can make an impact as a deep threat. Kenny Galladay from Northern Illinois, another receiver who I think can make an impact and be available on day 3. So I like this receiver class, not only early, but I think there's some deep options as well.
Where do you have some of these corners? Where do you have a guy like Elder? Corn Elder.
He's a third-round player.
Yeah, so you think he's higher than that, though?
Yeah, I think you could make an argument he's the best nickel corner in this draft.
I would think that myself. I'll tell you what what about the Muhammad kid?
He's talented, but the off-field.
The field stuff.
Because he missed this entire year.
Right, but maybe people will dock him a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think that's a guy that also we're kind of thinking because he didn't play this year that he might be a guy that all of a sudden shows up. He's in shape. He's got the ability. There's no question about that.
I think, stick with corners. Jeremy Couture, from Middle Tennessee, a combine snub. This is a guy who wanted to go to LSU. His entire life.
Oh yeah,
Katrina. Tigers.
Yeah,
a Katrina guy who was living from place to place, didn't have the grades to get in LSU, goes to JUCO, tries to get in LSU again, can't get in grades, so he goes to Middle Tennessee. And the last 2 years, he put together some really impressive tape. Tall, long, lanky. He's quick. You worry about the strength, but I tell you, his coaches go to bat for him. They speak very highly of who he is as a person and also just as a football player, how young he is and how good he can be down the road. So I think Jeremy Couture on day 3, that's a cornerback you need to know about.
Okay, you're talking about cornerbacks. Well, Sean Gabby, sorry if I mispronounced your name, has a question for you guys. Obviously, love to talk about Marinelli. He says, in Marinelli's scheme, is he looking for cornerbacks that play press, off-man, both? Who fits best? I feel like I might know the answer, but you guys take
Go ahead.
Shot.
Shoot it at it.
I feel like he plays a lot of press, and he plays, he loves man coverage. That's how he beat a lot of those big-time receivers last year. So I feel like he would lean toward a corner who has that.
Yeah,
Brian, what do you think?
No, I don't disagree. I think that the Tampa 2 scheme, like everybody talked about, was to play.
Loves.
Yeah, but he had to make adjustments because he didn't have corners that could play off. And so I think and I don't want this to be as riding the fence. I think he would like guys that could play both.
Yeah, team diverse.
So when he gets
when
he gets in that mode of clog and cover, where all of a sudden they're playing zone and they're kind of doing that thing. I think though that there's some really really good man corners in this draft. I think there's a lot more man corners myself, and I mentioned the guys like Tabor and White and Moreau, Jones, Tankersley, Humphrey. I mean, there's some guys in here that could play. Now, I don't know how much I would trust some of these guys playing off. I think guys like White, I think Moreau from UCLA, I think he could play off. Tankersley, to me, is not an off man. Press only.
Yeah.
So, Humphrey, Alabama, a little bit. He's long, drive, that kind of. I think that he's looking for guys that can actually do both. But you're right. You're right in your assessment.
I think he likes athletic guys that are just aggressive.
He does, and that's why a guy like Anthony Brown, who played as a as a boundary corner, but could really run and show the ability to kick inside. So the man ability, the stuff that he's able to play driving off the ball, I think that they'll continue to try and get guys like that.
This is a double question, one from Nebby, and it says, are there any mid-round prospects who could back up Dak Prescott next season? And then Brian kind of responded, Brian Gaynor, he said, maybe Chad Kelly or Josh Dobbs, perhaps. Any thoughts there?
You like Kelly a lot.
I think at some point in the draft, he's worth a draft pick. I think he's a lottery ticket. There's a lot of things that worry me about him.
Would he be the risk player?
Oh yeah. On and off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, off the field.
You saw him on Last Chance U.
Yeah. I mean, he's a player. One scout described him to me. He has a Superman complex. He thinks he can do anything.
Right.
He has that entitlement about him, and that can help you at times on the field, but also makes you worry about him off the field, and also worries you on the field because he'll make some throws that he just shouldn't make. So the arm that he was blessed with it's elite. Okay, he has a golden arm. He's an athlete. He can move around for his size, and he's also mentally and physically tough. So I think
he takes a ton of hits.
Oh yeah, and so I think those are some foundation traits you can work on and build off of. But again, he's not a player I'm going to feel comfortable taking in the first 5 rounds. That's someone the 6th or 7th round maybe take a shot on. Josh Dobbs, another name that was mentioned. He is the guy that will receive a lot of Dak comparisons.
I feel like that's all Deshaun right now.
Yeah,
Deshaun Watson, yeah.
But with Dobbs coming from the SEC, he's just not an accurate quarterback.
He's not.
And I don't think that gets better. He's really smart. He's a good athlete for his size. But you just rarely see guys get better in terms with their accuracy, their ball placement, their understanding of downfield coverages. I just don't see Dobbs. Dobbs isn't draftable to me. He probably will get drafted by a team. But for me, that is a player I would not be on my board.
Dang. Yeah. Chad Kelly is so interesting to me because obviously he is the nephew of Jim Kelly.
Yeah, right.
Great, successful quarterback, Hall of Famer, obviously.
Yeah.
Immense respect for him in the league. And then, of course, he's had his issues at Clemson, Last Chance U, and all that in Mississippi and going there. So he's just kind of a fascinating guy to me.
One other thing about Kelly is he is ADD, and that's something that coaches have said that might affect his ability to digest a playbook in the NFL, just because it's so diverse, and obviously, you have to know so many things, and so that's just another wrinkle to his scouting report, and something that teams have to or they have to understand whether or not he's worth a draft pick.
Yeah, but you talked about though in this 5th, 6th round.
I have a 6th or 7th round grade on him.
Okay, so
at that point,
you wouldn't take that risk until that point.
Right.
Okay, and he's super talented though.
We're
doing quarterbacks on Saturday. We're taking my little group,
okay, good.
KT and Jeff, and we're gonna sit there and we're gonna hammer all the quarterbacks on Saturday.
It's not a great group, but there's some talent.
No, we'll find him. We'll find some.
I know, and it's funny because you always do. Because I think last year, it seemed like you always talk about tiers. Mm-hmm. You talk a lot about tiers, and you would talk about the top tier, the middle tier, and the bottom tier. And this year, it's like there's just a few in the top tier and a lot in the middle.
And no consensus.
How would Hackenberg and Cook be in this draft?
Better.
That's
probably better.
I mean, people were thinking them. Taylor brought up the tiers thing. How about even Dak Prescott?
Yeah.
I mean, would he be instead of in people's eyes maybe a 4th round guy? Is he a 2nd round guy?
Yeah.
Just because of the way the class looks.
Right. We don't have Jacoby Brissett's this year.
Right.
Or, guys like that.
That 2nd or 3rd round group of guys.
No, I think that's a valid point. And the guy this year that's going to be interesting is Pat Mahomes. Because
I've seen a lot about him.
Yeah. I don't think it would be a surprise if he snuck into the 1st round. I don't think he should, but he might. I think
you were on him you had him in your initial top 50.
Yeah, he was number 50. He came in at number 50. I think he's a early to mid 2nd round guy. At that point, maybe you take a chance. But again, he's a player that he's not going to help you in 2017.
No.
And I think there's a worry that he might not help you in 2018. He's just
kind of like what we said about Dak.
He's a puppy. Well, no, Dak, I think we had a better understanding of who he was.
Oh, no, I don't.
With Mahomes, it's just all upside.
Yeah.
He really is a puppy.
I don't think you can blame yourself for anything that you said about Dak. I've gotten really frustrated because it feels like everything I see on Twitter, social media right now is Deshaun and Dak.
Right.
Oh, Deshaun is the next Dak Prescott. But to me, that feels really lazy to say that because, yes, they have similar attributes. They're very similar style play and all that stuff. But Clemson just won a national championship.
Yeah.
Deshaun came from Mississippi State. Obviously, he excelled that program when he was there, but, they are what they are. Mm-hmm. And it's so much situational success. Right. Deshaun Watson may go into a Cleveland Browns situation, and you can't say, oh, he's not the next Dak because he's there. Well, Dak Prescott came into this situation where you had the best offensive line in the league, Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, a team committed to running the football.
Fit is the most important part
for quarterbacks,
It seriously is, because I remember talking...
for everybody. Really.
Every position, absolutely. If you go to the right fit, the right situation, now obviously talent will supersede that. And if you're that talented, that'll show through no matter where you are. But fit, and a perfect example right here with Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
How if he goes to another team, if the Browns draft him instead of Cody Kessler in the
Raiders.
third round, who knows how that works out, right? Yeah. So fit is paramount to the trajectory of a rookie's and just a player's eventual NFL career.
And I remember talking to Dak at training camp, and we were kind of talking about learning the playbook, because he got a lot of slack as far as, he'd never taken under center, and you have to learn a whole new playbook. But really, most people didn't realize he didn't, because of the fact that, Linehan had worked with Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer had obviously worked with Dan Mullen. And so they had a lot of the similar plays that it made it a little bit easier for a rookie like Dak to come in and understand this playbook. And a lot of people didn't know that coming into the draft. Obviously, Linehan did.
Yep.
But I think that plays into it too.
Absolutely. Got time for one more question.
One more question. Who are the best strong side linebackers in this draft that fit for the Cowboys and are realistic to be in their range? Cali Cowboy wants to know.
The question of the day.
I haven't had the question of the day in a while. Thank you very much for that, Kent.
Lentils.
I don't know, Brian, what do you think? Is there a Sam in this?
Where would you play Riddick?
I think he's probably best inside in a 3-4. Maybe probably a week in a 4-3.
On the weak side. How about Riley?
Another week.
Another week. Watt?
I like him better as if he's in a 4-3, it's tougher. 3-4, I want him, getting after the quarterback a little bit. But in a 4-3, I don't know if I love that fit.
Yeah.
I don't.
About Anderson, Alabama.
I struggle with Anderson. He's one of those guys
he is a struggle.
Because there's a lot of talent there. I just don't know where he fits best. And the Senior Bowl didn't help me. I think the Combine and watching tape in March is really what it's going to take to figure out Ryan Anderson in terms of what's his value and what he's going to be at the pro level.
About the top of the board, how about Cunningham, Vanderbilt?
Like him quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too. He's one of my favorite guys.
Oh yeah, you like him top 5.
I do. He's one of my. Nobody wants to like this guy with me.
No, I like him. You see examples of him using that length, shedding, and flowing to the play.
Yeah.
As a Sam, you have to be able to take on the point of attack consistently, and I'm not sure if that's Cunningham. I don't know if he can do it consistently. I've seen him do it. I know he can because he flashes that explosive upper body, uses those long arms. I just don't know if he can do it consistently.
Fair enough.
I tell you what, man, I love him.
He's awesome.
I do, and I hope that I hope I'm actually right about somebody. Yeah, he's my guy. Cunningham is my guy.
I think he's a top 20 player, so I don't hate him. I just don't love him as
He's a good football player.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. He's a good football player. Okay, when we come back, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to get in. Taylor's got some more stuff. Taylor's Takes. We'll carry on, not Tay what, but better than that. We'll work on that. But anyway, when we come back, we'll be right back at the Draft Show. Stay tuned.
To work this big land, you need equipment with values rooted as deep in Texas soil as you are. Like John Deere compact tractors with a 6-year powertrain warranty and big features that help you work less so you have more time to do what you love. John Deere was first in the Texas fields, and we're proud to be on the field as the official ag and turf equipment of the Dallas Cowboys. Find Texas-sized deals at myjohndeeredealer.com/football. Terms, conditions, exclusions, and warranty limitations apply. See dealer for details.
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
"Just one more episode."
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, Cowboy legends, cheerleaders, and me, Brian Broaddus. Want to stay at the team hotel? With Star Sports Tours, you can. And our outstanding ticket selection is unmatched. You can trust the official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit starsportstours.com to book your travel packages today.
Ice Cold Dr. Pepper and the Dallas Cowboys go way back. They belong together like Texas and football, silver and blue, shotgun formations and Hail Marys. Having a Cowboys football party without Dr. Pepper is like Thanksgiving without the Cowboys. Basically, we wouldn't recommend it. So, next time you have a tailgate, home gate, or whatever else kind of gate, grab some ice cold Dr. Pepper to make your Cowboys party one of a kind. Dr. Pepper, a Dallas Cowboys tradition.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The Cowboys are on the clock.
We're back here in the SWBC Mortgage Studios. Brian Broaddus, Dane Brugler, Taylor Stern, Kent Garrison, executive producer. Got about 18 minutes or so left in the show, and going to do a little thing called Taylor's Takes.
Yes.
More questions. If when we get through these, maybe if we have some time for some phone calls, we'll do that as well. 888-855-2297. Also want to thank everybody out there for and hanging out with us. We've got it on the Periscope, on the app, all these things, all these different platforms that
so fun.
Taylor is so proficient at.
Yeah, Kent makes it happen, though.
Yeah, Kent Garrison does a heck of a job with that. And so, but we appreciate everybody following along. We appreciate all the folks that go back and listen to this, though. As podcasts and things like that. And, we've got myself and Dane doing a couple of different things. Podcast you're on with Jeff Kavanaugh.
Trust the Tape.
Trust the Tape is a good podcast to listen to as well. So check that. It usually comes out on Mondays. So we'll, and you guys, I'm sure, will maybe have something going on from the Combine as well. Absolutely. So Dane will be part of the coverage. David Hellman will be part of the coverage. And Rob Phillips will be part of the coverage from the Combine. So we'll do all that. So
that is very exciting.
We got it all. Yeah.
But I'm ready to ask you guys some questions.
Go for it. Taylor's Takes. Here we go.
These gurus in here.
Yeah, there we go.
Last year, I really, really felt like I had to fight for Ezekiel Elliott because a lot of people didn't think you could take a running back at 4th overall. I think it paid off for the Cowboys. But can you guys name one player that you would truly fight for in this draft, Dane? Give us your guy. Fight for him. Somebody that, it may not be the best fit for the Cowboys. Don't care. I just want to know someone who you would fight for.
So if I'm the Cowboys at 28, who would I fight for?
Yes, you are banging on the table, as Brian says, and you want this guy on this team. You can't believe he's still there on the board. Let's just live in a fantasy land. Who is it?
I probably might go with O.J. Howard, the talented tight end from Alabama. I don't know if he's going to be there, but if he is, I know this team needs defense. This team needs a pass rusher, needs cornerback help. But if you can add a talent like O.J. Howard who is going to help you from day one, and he's going to get better as a blocker and as a receiver. He can stretch the seam. He can do different things. Really, just add another dimension to this offense. I don't think you can pass up O.J. Howard. I'd be banging the table for him.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, that is fair. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take another route here. I'm going to fight at 28 for Takk McKinley.
Yeah,
if he's there. I really am. And I know we have the shoulder and all the things. I think this is a very versatile football player. I think he could play right in. He could play left in. You could stand him up. You could put his hand down. There's a lot of different things that you can do with Takk McKinley. Lawson, McKinley, those guys, I think they're going to be at the bottom of the board. But I think when it comes time to pick, he'll be the guy that probably has the best grade of a wide receiver, of a potential corner, of a potential safety there as well. So Takk McKinley would be the guy that I would, if we were talking about, okay, wait, we've got this corner, we've got this receiver, I'm banging the table for Takk McKinley to be here. I just think that he can give you something as a big-time edge rusher, versatile player.
Better or worse chance, 50-50, that he's there at 28 in your mind?
In my mind, I'm living in fantasy land, thinking that that he would be. No,
I just want to get your.
I think he'll go earlier.
Yeah,
and maybe it'll become a no-brainer for somebody
after the combine.
But if we're up there and we start talking about, well, we've got this guy, and the stack is maybe you've got some guys with similar grades and all that, and he's one of. I'm like, guys, really? Let's think about this. Let's, all the things we talked about, safe players and that and productive players. I think he's all of that.
If McKinley doesn't run a 4.5 at the combine, I might be a little disappointed. I think he might get it.
I might be wrong about that.
You're talking a lot about versatile players, which kind of plays into my next question.
Yes.
Solomon Thomas, obviously I love watching Stanford.
Whoa.
I love watching Stanford.
Right.
I'm curious though, he's a very versatile player.
Yeah.
That's going to be a plus for him in this draft, but what's his best position?
That's a great question because that is something that will be debated, and I don't think there will be a consensus.
Yeah.
It depends on scheme, depends on what you want to do. He looks like an edge rusher. He's 6'2", 275.
Right.
Build.
Right. He looks like a base end, and that's where I think he probably will start off. But he does so many good things from the interior because his powerful hands, his quickness. I mean, he has that ability to, the closer he gets to the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the more explosive he gets and the more impact he makes. So I guess, he's a base end on early downs. You move him inside on passing downs. I don't want to put him into one position. You move him around a little bit and just let him be explosive from different areas.
If I had to put him in one spot, I might put him at 3 technique.
I don't think you're wrong, yeah.
I mean, I like what you said about put him closer to the ball and let him go. He is an explosive player. He's strong. He's really young. Is he 20 years old?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
he is incredible. I mean, there's so many positive things about him that as a player, and I think 3 technique is actually better than defensive end, but I wouldn't discount him playing defensive end at all in the NFL.
Not bad.
No.
But, we talk about these drafts and how they have different depths at certain positions. Cowboys being at 28, that kind of puts them at a disadvantage. But give me a position that you wouldn't necessarily draft early. That this draft just has plenty of them, or you can see yourself getting one later on.
You probably have to go wide receiver.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the options on day 2. Now, if John Ross is there at 28, it's going to make you think.
All right, but McKinley or Ross? Now let's have that discussion. I know we talked about McKinley.
Yeah. I'm going with the pass rusher.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't.
See, that's why I would jump up on the table, and I like Ross.
Right. And it's tough
So you're going to
because
say defense.
Yeah.
you don't want to window dress your board.
Nope.
But if you have Ross one step ahead of McKinley on your board, I still think you go McKinley just because he's a pass rusher.
But
He impacts
do you?
the game more.
Do you?
Yeah,
I know what you say. You don't window dress the board, but in that situation, you feel a lot better about the pass rusher in the first round and the receiver in the second or third over.
Then I did a poor job. Then I did a poor job of fighting for the player when we were stacking the board. If that happens, then I need to keep my mouth shut.
Look, I get what you're saying, but look, players are similar. I mean,
No, I understand. I mean,
tiers.
Sean Merriman and Marcus Ware had the same grade, but Ware was over Merriman on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was.
And you're happy about that choice.
Yeah, but they had the same grade. I mean, if I'm stacking that thing and my guy doesn't win, I'm just in my mind, I'm going, okay, I noted, but I'm just trying to limit my mistakes.
When players have similar grades at the same position, that becomes a little easier. But when
Right.
they have similar positions or
similar grades
at different positions and on different sides of the ball,
Right.
then it becomes a little more excusable to go with the pass rusher if you have a similar grade over a player you feel good about getting a receiver second, third, fourth round.
Yeah.
So who wouldn't you draft early? He said the wide receiver. Who would you not draft early?
I wouldn't draft. I don't think you could I don't think if you had to pick an offensive tackle in this draft early.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see that group. And I know, with Ramczyk and all that, I don't see a guy that if I had to take an offensive tackle in the first round, I'm like, man, I'm dying for a tackle.
That would be a mistake.
I think it would be a mistake. And I think Ramczyk is more of a late 1-2 kind of a guy. But man, I would be scared. I would be scared to draft. I'll tell you another position, like if you had to draft a 1 technique, a guy, big. I mean, I think, and not that anybody would take one the first, but I'm not really sure about that.
I mean, the top 1 technique for me is probably
Tomlinson?
Yeah. Alabama.
Yeah.
So, and that's a guy I have a second, third round grade on.
There you go. Okay.
Cornerbacks. We're very important. We've talked about them. Who's the most outstanding slot corner in this draft?
Well, I think a player like Marshawn Lattimore can do it. He has the athleticism to do it. But if we're going to talk about more of a nickel corner, a guy that you're going to bring in on nickel situations to cover a slot.
Which this team likes to do.
Right. A guy we mentioned earlier, Corn Elder from Miami, I think he can do it. Because if you're going to be a slot corner, you have to be able to tackle.
Right, he can tackle.
Yeah, you have to be a tough son of a gun, and I think that's Corn Elder. He's not the biggest guy, not the longest guy, but he's tough. He has better strength than what you think, and yet he's a supreme athlete. So I think Corn Elder would make a lot of sense.
Who's the guys let me take it a little further to answer a great question. Of the short guys, Elder, Jackson, or Lewis? Jackson being USC, Lewis being Michigan. If you had to take a smaller corner to play slot, which one of those three would you take?
I'd take Jordan Lewis. I think he has the cover skills that you want. I feel better about Corn Elder maybe as a run defender, but I think Jordan Lewis, just in terms of pure cover skills, coverage ability, I feel better about him than those other two guys you mentioned.
I think I would take Elder.
Okay.
I think I would take Elder and then Lewis and Jackson.
1, 2, and then Jackson's.
Oh, poor
is
Jackson.
that what it is? Jackson's way down.
Jackson.
But no, I'm just talking about the short corner guys. The short corner.
Jackson's going to look great at the combine because he's going to test really well.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's too much bad tape on him.
Get ready for TV scout. Him getting bullied at in Penn State in the Rose Bowl. Bullied against
John Ross,
Utah.
Dosey-Do.
Dosey-Do. I like it. Okay.
People are mean. This next question, I feel like I already have the real answer to this, but I'm curious. Need a jack-of-all-trades player, Christian McCaffrey or Jabril Peppers? I feel like the answer is probably obvious in Peppers, but is there a fight for McCaffrey?
I think the answer is obvious, and it's McCaffrey. I
like it.
Welcome to the draft show.
Peppers, I don't think he's. I struggle with where he's going to fit.
Well, and that's why people would probably think that he is a jack of all trades.
Where are you going to play McCaffrey?
I don't care. Just put him on my offense. I mean,
just anywhere you want.
I'll line him up out wide in the slot, backfield.
You just think he's a bull,
right? I mean, Christian McCaffrey is one of the smartest runners I've ever evaluated. He understands creases. He understands, when the mission's over.
Miss. Yeah.
He understands how to set up his moves. He reads his blocks. He's so good at that, and he's so good with his ball skills, catching the ball out of the backfield, running routes. He's not the biggest guy. We'll see what he comes in at the combine. Is he 205 or is he going to be closer to 215? I don't think he's going to be a featured back where you want him carrying the ball 20 times a game, but he can touch the ball 20 times a game and impact your offense in a big way. Peppers, I guess he might be that jack of all trades, master of none, where he can do a few things, but you kind of worry about where's his home. Where's he going to fit?
Understand that.
You know what? You're not wrong about this McCaffrey, though, by the way. I was just getting on you about that because you can do a lot of things with him. His tape has you going, wow, more than Pepper's tape does. And if I had to have a guy that I really don't know, even though I do think I have a plan for McCaffrey, I really don't have a plan for Peppers. And I'm thinking, let me ask you this, guys. Do you think that they're going to be selected near each other? The same spot?
Probably. I think it's going to depend on what teams are lining up.
Yeah.
I think, late one. I think they'll be in that area with McCaffrey. He plays a position where a lot of teams feel comfortable passing on a
good team
back.
Will draft him, won't they?
A team like the Patriots, a team like the Packers. I can't rule them
Cowboys?
out. I don't think they'll make that move now. But with Peppers, it just takes a little bit more of a leap of faith, because you have to – you're projecting him at a position where, in college he played a little corner, played a little nickel, played a little linebacker, and showed flashes. He can run. He's an elite athlete, but where's his home? Is he a 3-down player? A lot of these questions we need to figure out.
Sounds a lot like what people were curious about with Ramsey last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with Ramsey, I think You're
talking about what home? Where's his home?
Yeah.
Corner or safety?
Corner or safety. Where's he better? High pointing, all that stuff.
I think you felt better. Yeah, you felt better about Ramsey. He could play either. With Peppers, it's more, I'm not sure he could play either. Because he's kind of a tweener. He does a little bit of what you want a linebacker to do, does a little bit of what you want a corner to do, does a little bit of what you want a safety to do. So I really believe he needs a hybrid position. If you're drafting Jabril Peppers, you have to draft him with the understanding that you're changing your defense to fit him in, not trying to force him into what you do on defense.
Yep, you never know what it'll be, but tall safeties usually don't have success in this league. So why will Obi Melon Fon Woo, I said it right, with UConn have success?
Physical marvel, and he showed it at the combine. The way
those UConn guys, they just like to show
Byron
out.
Jones, what it is up there, but the strength and conditioning program gets them ready. It's a good point. We don't see many 6'3", 6'4" safeties.
Yeah, it's very rare that you have those guys. I mean, there's been guys been drafted high too, like Patrick Bates was picked. He's over 6'3".
Right.
You've had guys like Steve Atwater was over 6'2". He's had great success.
We've got a few of those guys this year with Melon Fonwu, and then also the Louisville kid, Harvey Clemens.
Yeah, but I didn't like him as much.
I agree. Yeah. So with Melon Fonwu, he can run. And
he can cover some ground.
He can. And I think, those long strides where that height helps him.
Physical.
Those long legs.
Were you thinking more of a side tackler or stuff like that? Or take some
I didn't love his tape. He was okay. I thought he did better at the Senior Bowl in coverage. I mean, they lined him at corner on some of those drills.
Makes sense with the range.
Yeah. Right. And so he covering a lot of ground.
I think he could turn for a long-legged guy.
Right.
I saw some play. I think it was a Houston game where the ball went sideline and he went from the middle and just bashed the guy into the bench.
I think bottom line with him is he'll be drafted higher than I would draft him. I think he's going to be in that mid to late third round. That's where I would feel comfortable.
Right.
I think somewhere between picks 50 and 75 would probably come off the board. Someone will really want to gamble at that athleticism. Possibly.
Big, tall safety guy.
Yeah. I mean, they already have one with Chancellor. I don't know if they want two, but maybe someone trying to copy Seattle.
Exactly. Yeah. There we go.
That happens too. Brian is very good about admitting when he is wrong, and he does that in a very prideful manner.
Mm-hmm.
But in this draft, who is the player that you have the biggest chance of being wrong about? I think we've identified that last year yours was kind of maybe Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
So this year, who's the guy that you're hesitant about? Maybe one of the risk guys you said earlier, but he could end up being better than we all think.
It's a good question.
It's a hard question because it's kind of going against whatever you think anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think the easy way would be go with one of these quarterbacks, just because there's so much doubt with one of them. I'll try to stay away from the quarterbacks. I'll say Quincy Wilson from Florida.
Yeah.
This is a player who I just don't think is very good.
And everybody's got him up real high on the board.
A lot
He's
of people have him in the
top
first round.
50 first-round player, yeah.
But the tape shows a player who doesn't have the speed that you want at corner.
Right.
Doesn't understand spacing the way you want. He has a few splash plays where he'll make a pick and return it for a big gain, but watching his tape snap after snap, a good-sized athlete, and he might test okay, and so that's going to help him, but I just don't see a consistent football player. I have him graded as a safety because I just don't think he's going to be able to stay at corner.
Yeah, and I'll stay with Florida. The opposite. I think I could be really wrong about Tabor.
But you like him.
I like him a lot.
TT.
I like Tez Tabor. I like him a lot, and I feel like that I have him maybe too high on the board. And I would
wrong in the opposite way.
Yeah, wrong. Yeah, wrong that I have him too high. That he doesn't play well. That he turns into a bust.
Who do you feel like you had that last year with, just in comparison? Like somebody that you really put up high and then he ended up not really delivering as well. I don't know if you can say that right now. It's kind of
I need to go back and look at my notes.
I mean, Miles Jack.
Miles Jack was my number one guy, and I think that Miles Jack, with the situation, if he's bad for Jacksonville this year and doesn't play well, that will be my new all timer right there, because he was my number one player on my board. And then also I wanted to give him another shot, but
And you said a key phrase, I think, situational.
Yeah.
It's all situational success. I mean, Zeke could have gone somewhere else, and maybe he didn't have the O-line that he did, and would be like, well, he's not even in consideration for rookie of the year.
I just want to give him the opportunity. We'll see. Thank you so much, Taylor Stern.
Thank you for answering my question.
Awesome job,
appreciate
Taylor.
that. Yeah.
Thanks, Dane.
For Taylor Stern, for Dane Brugler, for Kent Garrison, I'm Brian Broaddus. I want to thank Derek Eagleton for letting us get on the air with this stuff. I want to thank Ed Cahill for creating this. I want to thank everybody out there for following along with us. We will see you next time. We'll start Tuesday. Make sure you're following at The Draft Show. We're going to tweet out the times that we will be there. Dane will be involved. David Helm and myself will have the full updates every day from the Combine, so we'll keep you informed. So until then, we'll see you.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?